we have a guest here. Maria is a digital humanities specialist at the Finnish Literature Society, where she is involved in revitalizing a collection of Finnish folk poetry and various languages, as I have learned during our correspondence in the beginning. So we are very much looking forward to seeing how you have modernized the collection using eXist-db and the TEI Publisher. I had a chance to play around in the database and the presentation, and has a lot of facets, and I'm truly looking forward to hearing from you. Maria.
Okay, thank you. Let me just share my screen first, and okay, and the presentation. So hello everyone, and I'm glad to be presenting our project here. So as Anne said, I work as a digital edition specialist at the Finnish Literature Society in Helsinki. And just as a bit of background, we are nearly 200 years old learned society and cultural organization. And one of the things we did in the 19th century was promoting or funding students to travel around the country and on the Russian side to collect poetry. So in the first half of the 20th century, all these poems, or most of them, were published in a series of 33 volumes of Karelian, Ingrian, and Finnish folk poems. So the first two are language relatives of Finnish. So about 20 years ago, we made the books into an SQL database with about 89,000 poems. So the database was mostly designed for the so-called general public, but it was used by researchers as well in fields like folklore research, literature research, and so on. But during the couple of decades, it had become quite outdated, and it was really too simple to serve the needs of research. So last year we decided to undertake a modernization project. And since we had used eXist and TEI Publisher for about 3 years or so for smaller scale editions, it was sort of the logical choice for this one as well. So before we could get into designing the new database, we had to convert the original master data, which was in non-standardized XML, to TEI. And then we had quite a large listing of requirements for this project, as well as lots more data. So the new database was supposed to have the original 89,000 poems, plus a new data set of about 84,000 poems of kind of uncategorized mixed content. So this new database is based on TEI Publisher 7.1.2. We have various reasons for not updating the system, but we use the latest web components plus the changes needed for the facets to get the PB combo box component. So obviously the indexing is the basis for everything there, and we have quite a large listing of rules. We have the data, metadata, of course, collectors, dates, collection regions, places, years, and so on, both for the facets and for the queries. So we have a large number of fields, and then we have indexing for the various elements containing the metadata. And as you can see, we have facets for all the metadata fields, and this is because we felt that when the users do text searches, they would need to be able to limit the search results, whatever fields they use to search in. So one of the changes we needed for the facets in the catalog pages was firstly we have a large system of classification of genres, poem genres. We have narrative poems, lyrical poems, wedding poems, and so on. So we have quite a massive taxonomy file, and then of course we have the references in the individual TEI files. So the category classification of genres is 3 or 4 categories, and we were able to use the basic function for indexing the genres, luckily. And the second change was that we needed to enable multi-choice, multi-selection in the non-hierarchical facets for collectors and regions and places and so on. So this was simply done by adding a button so that the facets aren't submitted until you press the button. It's a simple JavaScript addition. As mentioned, we have quite a lot of data, and the logical thing was to divide the data into 2 collections, one for the original SKVR data and this other one for the new data. So it's 2 catalog pages with about nearly 90,000 poems per page. So obviously one of the big concern was performance, and we needed quite a new and fast server for this stuff. And in the end, we decided, we made some compromises that weren't ideal for performance, but were needed for other reasons. For one thing, it might be ideal to limit the number of facets in the initial view to about 50 or so, and then use the PB combo box to let users to select the other ones. But we felt that we needed the statistical data that the facets offer. I mean, this is a huge collection, and the facets themselves offer important data. For instance, if you want to know where and when a specific person collected poems, or which regions yielded, let's say, children's poems or so on. You can see them immediately in the facets. And the second compromise was sort of this side view thing on the right. So when you click one of the numbers, it actually opens the poem in the side view, and then you can open the poem in a different window if you want to. This was actually copied from the old database and basically made with a bunch of PB view elements, components, and hiding and showing with JavaScript. This was basically so that old users might feel more comfortable adapting to the new system, because this is obviously quite different from the old one. So in the view for individual documents, the biggest thing we have is these themes, poem genre titles. These are clickable, and when you click one of those, it starts the search for the theme. And this was basically done very simply in the ODD definitions. So the catref elements are rendered as links with the search link for the which first gets the ID from the target attributes of the catref elements, and then returns the corresponding category in the taxonomy file and the getDesc element that contains the title. So then on the query part of our database, we have quite a large number of fielded searches. Firstly, we have a couple of different searches into the text of the poems, basically two contexts. First is the whole text, and then individual lines, which, as I understand, is an important. The latter is an important feature for the researchers in this field. And then we have the poetry genres, collectors, performers, places, regions, and years. And in addition, we needed to enable the users to choose which collection they wanted to query. So we added a little menu for that. So here are our functions from the queries. These are quite simple in that different divs and the different elements. The search for the themes is a bit more complicated in that you first need to search the theme title in the taxonomy file, and then you need to return the corresponding catrefs on the basis of the target element. So in order to enable people to select a collection, the query, we needed to add a new parameter for the collection, obviously in the HTML code, and then in the search functions and in the API. So that's the call parameter there. So yeah, this is briefly the ones. So this is a quite this project brought about lots of new things. I mean, I have some background in computer science, but I'm not so familiar with XQuery, so there was a huge amount of new things to find out, and obviously it was quite nerve-wracking as well sometimes, because we have all the old users with lots of different needs, so they have their individual needs and preferences. So so hopefully, as far as the feedback we have received, as in everything, we have a large silent majority who is presumably or hopefully happy with the system. Then we have some users who have commented that it's working well after they learned the instructions. And then we have some users who basically said things like that they came to see the database after a long time and they are annoyed by it, and it's filled with annoying things and so on. But luckily we have also received quite a lot of useful concrete suggestions. For instance, this one was actually suggested by a folk music student who was researching, I think, I can't remember the type of poetry that she was researching, but she was hoping for a feature where she could view one poem and then directly access all the other poems belonging to the same genre. So this was luckily easy to make her wishes true. So one of the things that our project demonstrated to us is that eXist-db and TEI Publisher are indeed suitable for large collections of data. And what's important to us especially is that it's all open source. So we can control the whole process from the sort of designing to building to making changes based on user feedback. And in comparison with the old database, it was built and maintained by a software company. And even if we had wanted to, we couldn't have kind of made any modernization changes to the old system. So thank you. I think that's for it for me. So any questions, please? I can't hear anything now. Yes, Magdalena.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, if I could, because you mentioned that you have some background in computer science, would you be be willing to share? How do you identify yourself as a technical person, as a scholar, or something in between? Because I think you showed us like some vowels of the project, and it was great to great to see. But you know, some of people we meet maybe in workshops or online can be quite scared of this exactly technical vowels that you need to comprehend. And you mentioned the nerve-wracking part, so
yeah, that's partly because well, my background is actually in history. I'm actually an ancient Greek historian. It's a bit of a strange route how I ended up here in the Finnish Literature Society. But I've also studied computer science, and maybe I would call myself a digital humanist. That's kind of a combination of the two. So I was actually responsible for the building the database. We have a data guy who took care of the conversion from the source data, and then we had a group, kind of guiding group for the whole project. Let me just. There was a question. Yeah, Joseph asks. I'm curious, is the source code for your application and or the source TEI data itself available online? The data is available online. Actually, the TEI data can be downloaded from the application itself. I can actually show the application or the edition if there's time in a little bit, but and the original master data is also available on GitHub. As for the code for our edition, it's not online yet, but I'm intending to publish it on GitHub at some point.
If I can ask another question.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, because Boris, I think, was first.
Yeah, sure. Please, Boris.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't first, but thank you. I will continue. Sorry. I'm interesting. I saw you have a lot of fields and facets, and also a lot of data. So, if how do you manage upload the data, and if during indexing, how long takes indexing? For example, I work with dictionaries, and it takes hours to upload all data, index it. So I'm interested in your data and performance you have with eXist-db.
Yeah. I'm at the moment I'm not quite sure, but I think the last time we needed to upload the entire data, it was about 5 hours, I think, 6 hours maybe, and that the indexing is about the same.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I would imagine the indexing is what takes most of this. Yeah, not that, you know, because you upload and then it indexes automatically. So that's quite a long time. And if I can share, I had for sure similar experiences with other large data sets like the lexicon of Greek personal names. It's depending on the server, it can take a couple hours to reindex. Yeah, I guess there are some some things to be cautious or careful about some tips and tricks, like about at indexing time, because you don't necessarily have the indexes already, then for sure it you know, it can get lengthy.
Yeah, we definitely could use some tips if there are some for the, because obviously it's a bit difficult because it is an existing edition that's online and people are using it all the time. So basically we need to start the indexing at in the evening.
Yes.
To minimize the sort of the break in the edition.
What worked for me for you know, some cases was to split the data collection into, you know, like so like to have taxonomies kind of first and separate, and so that you make sure that they are indexed, because you may need to access them indexing your actual edition data, but at least at this point you already have indexes for the taxonomy, so this can speed up things.
There's Elias asks, would you be able to share a bit about how you decided on your search facets and or how you deal with entities that don't fit neatly into a facet but that you still want to index, if that's something you've encountered? So the first part is that this is a data that's been around for well, if you count the books, it's been around for about nearly 100 years. So the metadata fields for the facets were quite established. We needed collectors, that we have needed collection dates, collection regions, places, and then the taxonomy. But then we did have, I think, one additional field that didn't fit into neat categories. This was a field that contained the names of the performers of the poems. So the students, when they traveled around the country to collect the poems, they actually asked people who knew lots of poetry, folk poetry, to recite the poem or sing poems for them. But the same field also includes kind of assorted data about villages and so on. So we decided to index that one for searches, but it wasn't really suitable for facets. Boris, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's again me. I'm wondering if you have, how deep is TEI encoding of your poems? If you encode stanzas or rhymes or this kind of things.
Yeah, I might actually show one of the poems as an example. I think I still have the sharing on, so let me just open up one of the. I'm actually not an expert on the coding of the poems, but hang on, the oxygen is a bit slow at times, so yeah. Okay, so hopefully you can see the TEI file. So there's the metadata, and we basically have then we have two versions of the text. We have the original version with kind of special characters. For instance, Karelian and Ingrian have lots of characters that don't exist in Finnish. These are actually one old ones. I think that they date back to the old SQL database, so 20 years ago. So these needed to be coded carefully. And then we do have a kind of various sort of markings, kind of elements for different things. And then we have a second version for the, this is a long one. Second version for the text normalized with all the special characters removed. For this is for the queries use only this version.
Yes.
Because obviously the special characters are quite challenging for the searches. So I'll actually stop sharing right now, and let me get back to you. So Anne asks, do you make use of a controlled vocabulary for the description of metadata? I spy a transcripts bookmark on your screen. I'm thinking of something like, how do you pronounce that? I don't think so. I said I'm unfortunately not an expert on the. Oh, thank you, Anne. I don't think so. I would have to ask the guy who was most responsible for coding the original data about the specifics on that. There's someone's hand up. Please, somebody asking a question.
Yeah, thank you so much for this wonderful talk. Finally have something to share with my relatives, what I'm actually doing while I'm working. I was wondering what the future of this project is. Is there still more data to be encoded? You were talking about 84,000 uncategorized poems. Have you categorized them all already?
I think we have lots of people, folklore researchers and so, who are hugely interested in working on the uncategorized data. So that remains to be seen.
So there might be updates to the page.
Yeah, might be, but we don't have any kind of schedule for that. So far we do have there are corrections to be made in the original SKVR data. So for now it's mostly uploading the corrected data. Boris, please.
Okay, again, some idea, if do you use TEI Publisher and annotation version of the TEI Publisher to change your data or annotate with new metadata, or are you doing this in some different way?
We haven't used for the annotation tool as yet. It's kind of the whole thing is actually in flux because the guy who was responsible for updating the data just retired. So we actually don't know who will be taking care of the whole stuff. We do have some people, but we have to discuss with our archives and so on.
Okay, thank you.
So
please.
if I could ask one more question, because you mentioned that for some users it was difficult to take the switch to the new system. Do you think it's because there were some things that were absent or too difficult to realize, or is it that just, you know, to familiarize yourself, for example, with how facets work? Because I definitely had this experience that this is sometimes hard for people.
Yeah, it's kind of a mix of things. So the old database was basically you could select a volume of SKVR and number from drop downs, and then it had a few fields for text searches. So we have some users who have very simple needs, for instance, looking up a specific poem. And then when they see the listing of facets, it can obviously feel a bit, let's say, confusing. Like I had one user calling me. He seemed quite confused and annoyed. For instance, he didn't see why there was this large category of poetry genres at the start of the facets and so on. So it's kind of, and then we have some users who used the old database for maybe 10 years, and they maybe kind of tried to use the new one in the old way. So and then they got frustrated because it didn't work, and some might not have the patience to read the instructions and so on. So it's kind of a mix of things.
But I gather you are yourself, you are not unhappy. Yeah, so it was
yeah, I'm fairly happy. There are some things that I might like to see, for instance, getting the PB combo box to work on the taxonomy thing. So you could, I mean, it works on the top level, but not on the lower levels. But
so for hierarchical, sorry. So
sorry?
For hierarchical taxonomy.
Yeah.
Or, yes, I get it.
Yeah. But I mean, we have alternative ways to look for do text searches for the FONDRA taxonomy. So it's not a big one, but it's mostly just a kind of when you are responsible for building the system, so you kind of feel responsible for the whole thing. So it's kind of stressful for that reason.
You're muted.
Yeah, thank you. As I was going to say, I'm going to stop the recording now. If there are any more questions, you can ask them afterwards, and I will do it now.